Hello, everyone. It feels like it's been 5 million years. Of course, it's only been a week. Um, my name is Ezra, also known as E-Soup. Today we are continuing case file. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna get used to this streaming once a week thing because I was just like, I kept thinking that there was going to be more last week, and I kept having to remind myself that that was not the case, and I would have to wait until Monday to find out what is going on. um, so I'm so glad to finally be here. It's good to see y'all. Oh, Henry, you asked who do you think is topping? And that has also been on my mind because it could go in a very meat bun direction, or it could be surprising, and I'm not really sure where it's gonna land. Um, Good to see you, love bunnies. Oh, this is the first book where you don't you don't like either of the main characters from the beginning, and yeah, that's understandable. Um, oh, Henry, thank you. Wait a minute, your sweater is like a beautiful potato and chestnut soup, highly complimentary. I love that. Thank you. I never thought of it like that, but I will now. Um, Hi, Maria and Nina. Oh, you said you want to switch. I wonder. That would be interesting. If Meat Bun is gonna do that in any book, I feel like it would be this one. You know? I mean, well, I know what she did in the other books, but you know what I mean. So that would be interesting. Henry, you're correct. We need more switches in Don May. Yes. Um, I we ended at a very interesting point, and I can't wait to hear more about this. Um, we ended right where He Yu found out that Xie Qing Chung had been divorced. And this is definitely my first Don May with a divorced character. So like that's very intriguing. Um And I love it because the name of the chapter that we're starting on today, chapter 5, is literally He Got Divorced. And once again, it's always like this with Meat Bun, but I'm loving these chapter titles. Henry, I mean, I can vividly, but it's not that in character. Heard. This venerable one gets het divorced. Yeah. Um, you know, yeah, I have no prediction of what their dynamic is going to be in this. I thought about it and I was like, maybe this, maybe that. I don't really know for sure, so I'm just gonna I guess I'm just gonna reserve trying to make predictions until we actually find out, whenever that may be. Why does Xiege on the cover look like Shimei? Does he? Kind of. I see what you mean. That's weird to think about. Okay, I am I'm gonna get started. Um, so like I said, we are on chapter 5. He got divorced, which is on page 59. It didn't seem like Xie Qingcheng planned to explain further. He merely asked, Xie Xue never told you? She didn't. Maybe she thought it was my personal business. He Yu fell quiet for a moment. You and Li Ruoqiu weren't right for each other? Li Ruoqiu was Xie Qingcheng's ex-wife. He Yu had a very deep impression of this woman. He thought there was something wrong with her. How could someone walk into marriage, often touted as the grave of love, with a man as paternalistic and cold as Xie Qingcheng? In He Yu's memory, Xie Qingcheng seemed devoid of desires. It was like he ought to be always sitting at his office desk in a neat and proper white lab coat, against the backdrop of some overflowing bookshelves, giving off the ice-cold and sobering scent of disinfectant. He Yu found it hard to believe that Xie Qingcheng would love anyone. He found it even harder to believe that anyone would love Xie Qingcheng. But Dr. Xie really had gotten married. He Yu still remembered Xie Qingcheng's wedding day. He had gone at his mother's behest to bring gift money to the newlyweds. He hadn't even bothered to change out of his school uniform. After the driver dropped him off at the hotel, he walked in casually wearing his white athletic shoes, his backpack slung over his shoulders, hands shoved into the pockets of his school-issued gym shorts. So, not even like regular school uniform, the school gym uniform. Xie Qingcheng was welcoming the guests. The team of wedding professionals had put makeup on him. He stood in the center of the crowd, his back as straight as a ruler, his bearing dignified, with pitch-black brows and eyes that resembled fallen stars. The master of ceremonies was saying something to him. It was too loud, and Xie Qingcheng was tall and couldn't hear clearly, so he tilted his head and leaned down to let the MC speak directly into his ear. In contrast to those around him, Xie Qingcheng's face seemed shockingly pale, like thin porcelain under a spotlight, so fragile it would shatter at the slightest touch. His lips were slightly pale too, as though the blood in his veins had been frozen under a layer of ice. Skin clear and pristine, lips like red plum blossoms frosted with snow. Though He Yu didn't like men, he was someone who appreciated beauty. Hi, Blue. Perfect timing. The self-proclaimed homophobic man. Sure. At that moment, He Yu imagined that the proposal between Li Ruoqiu, who was very pretty, to be honest, and Xie Qingcheng might have gone like this. I just love how he's like, oh, she was very pretty, to be honest, and he doesn't spend any time, like, describing her at all. But, sure. Xie Qingcheng would be dressed in pure white, his usual ballpoint and fountain pens clipped to his breast pocket, with his hands in his pants pockets, standing like an untouchable alpine flower. Then, in an unrepentantly insufferable tone, he would say to the young lady, "I'm going to marry you. You can go ahead and thank me on your knees." He Yu was a master at pretending, so of course he wouldn't voice his genuine thoughts. With his messenger bag slung over his shoulder, He Yu walked up to the handsome groom and beautiful bride. Smiling, he said, "Dr. Xie, Saozi." "This is," began Li Ruoqiu. "A friend's son," Xie Qingcheng said by way of introduction. He had an agreement with the He family. He wouldn't tell outsiders that He Yu was his patient. "So pretty. What a good-looking kid," Li Ruoqiu complimented. He Yu gave her a polite, gentlemanly bow, with a faint smile in his dark black eyes. "Nonsense. Saozi is the real beauty." The teenager retrieved a thick-sealed red envelope from his canvas bag. He said, gentle and refined, "Wishing you and Dr. Xie an everlasting and blissful marriage." Everlasting and blissful, his ass. Back then, he already had an inkling that no one would be able to put up with a man like Xie Qingcheng, but he hadn't expected that this marriage would really be so short-lived. Could he have magically manifested this? He Yu resisted the building schadenfreude and asked evenly, "Why do you get divorced all of a sudden?" Xie Qingcheng said nothing. "I remember she really liked you back then. When the two of you visited my house after you got married, she only had eyes for you." Xie Qingcheng broke his silence. "He Yu, this is indeed my personal business." He Yu arched a brow slightly. He assessed Xie Qingcheng's arrogant expression. Now that he was facing Xie Qingcheng again, He Yu suddenly felt that many things had changed over the course of the years he had spent abroad. But He Yu wasn't actually interested in what had changed about Xie Qingcheng, so in the end, he just smiled. "Then never mind. Hope you have a successful matchmaking date." Xie Qingcheng shot him a cool glance, and without bothering to thank him, turned to leave. The dorm door closed behind him. Because He Yu had brought up his ex-wife, Xie Qingcheng found himself involuntarily reminded of his marriage with Li Ruoqiu, a union that could be described as a complete failure. Xie Qingcheng was well aware of the reason why Xie Xue hadn't mentioned the divorce to He Yu. It was immensely embarrassing. While it was true that Li Ruoqiu had once loved him, it was also true that her love didn't last. She cheated on him. This was something that Xie Qingcheng could never accept. He didn't know what love was, but he did know familial duty. With respect to certain issues, his way of thinking was extremely conservative. But Li Ruoqiu was different. She believed that the most important thing in a marriage was love, not duty. Thus, their marriage eventually fell apart. Even though she was the one who had fallen in love with the married man, she still cried and lashed out at Xie Qingcheng afterward. She told him he only had eyes for his work, that marrying him was no different from marrying a frigid copy of his work schedule. Ooh, ouch. In all honesty, this wasn't an unreasonable criticism. Xie Qingcheng knew he wasn't a sentimental man. Throughout their relationship, Xie Qingcheng had never felt any sort of love for her. She had pursued him for many years, and as they got to know each other, he also began to feel that she was a suitable partner. In due course, they got married. After they tied the knot, he didn't shirk a single duty or responsibility expected of him as a husband. But that wasn't the type of marriage she wanted. Xie Qingcheng was very responsible, but he wasn't romantic, and his personality was rather indifferent. He could remain rational and calm even in bed, never succumbing to or indulging in any desires. It was as if he were completing a task or fulfilling a duty that one was obligated to do after marriage, but he did so without much passion. I wonder why. Thus, her heart gradually cooled. She cheated on him, then told him, "Xie Qingcheng, you're a heartless person. Even to this day, you still don't understand. What I want is love, not just a marriage." But what was love? Xie Qingcheng only felt the onset of a splitting headache. Who knew how much effort it took for him to refrain from slamming the table in rage? He gazed at her for a very long time. In the end, he spoke numbly, his voice as calm as still water. "Does that man love you? He has a wife and daughter. How sincere do you think he is about you?" She looked up, her eyes burning with something that Xie Qingcheng couldn't understand at all. "I don't care if he has a wife and a kid," Li Ruoqiu said. "I just know that at the very least, he's passionate when he holds me. I can hear his heart beat faster, unlike you, Xie Qingcheng. You're perfectly prim and proper. You never mess around with other women. You let me manage the money and the household. But your heart, when you're with me, is like a dead man's ECG. We've been married for so many years, but it's only ever been a flat line. Life is short, just a few decades. He was once bound by an unhappy marriage, just like me. Now I've come to a realization. I don't need status, money, or even reputation. Other people can call me loose or a slut if they feel like it, but I only want to be with him. Xie Qingcheng closed his eyes, the cigarette in his hand about to burn his fingers. Li Ruoqiu, have you gone insane? There's no such thing as love. Love is just a reaction caused by the dopamine in your body. It's your hormones acting up. But responsibility does exist, and so does family. You're crazy about him, but is he willing to get divorced and live with you? After a moment of silence, the flame in Li Ruoqiu's eyes blazed even more wildly. Finally, she said with tearful resolve, I just don't want to have regrets. Xie Qingcheng, love does exist. It might defy norms and be shunned by society. Or maybe it's so lowly that it's buried in mud and unspeakable filth. But it does exist. It has nothing to do with hormones or dopamine. I'm sorry. There's no way I can continue living with you like this, because now I know what love is. I love him even if it's wrong. We can't escape the remnants of filth. Despite the many years that had passed since the divorce, Xie Qingcheng still found the conversation absurd every time he thought of it. If love was what made someone walk into the fray, despite knowing very well that it was wrong, if love made them stand by their mistakes, despite knowing full well that they were stepping into a bottomless abyss, to the point that they could disregard anything, from infamy, scorn, principles, morals, to life itself, then to him, this seemed less like a type of affection, and more like some kind of disease. He couldn't empathize at all. Although Xie Qingcheng's personality was staunch, when all was said and done, he was still a straight man who had internalized traditional chauvinistic ideals. When his wife cheated on him and ran off with a married man, that betrayal pained him deeply. After his divorce, Xie Qingcheng carried on. He went to work, wrote his manuscripts, and taught his students as usual. He didn't seem upset at all. Yet it was plainly obvious to everyone around him that he was rapidly losing weight. His cheeks were becoming slightly sunken, and his voice rasped when he spoke. Concerned that the university would go viral on Weibo if Xie Qingcheng kicked the bucket, the dean advised him solicitously, Professor Xie, if you are feeling unwell, just take some time off and go rest at home. You mustn't push yourself too hard. And there's a footnote for Weibo, a popular microblogging platform in China. To the dean's surprise, Xie Qingcheng tossed a flash drive at him. In it was a compressed folder of PowerPoint presentations, the most recent materials for his course. Given how complex and dense the contents were, the dean realized that even at the height of his intellectual and physical prowess, he would have had difficulties putting them together so quickly. Do you still want me to go home? Xie Qingcheng leaned back against his office chair, interlocking his slender fingers. He was so slight he resembled tissue paper, and so thin his silhouette seemed like dark smoke. Yet when he looked up, his gaze was still unexpectedly clear. One could even call it coldly sharp. I do want to rest, Xie Qingcheng continued, but please make sure that there's someone other than me who can prepare the first lecture of this course to this standard. Naturally, there was no one else who could step up to the plate. The dean could also tell from Xie Qingcheng's blazing gaze that his worry that the university would go viral on Weibo was unfounded for the time being. Those were not the eyes of someone who was about to shrivel up and die. But hardly anyone knew that in order to keep working properly, in order to bury those shattered emotions at the bottom of his heart, Xie Qingcheng would sit in his bedroom and smoke when he was at home. Even when he started coughing uncontrollably, he refused to stop. It was as if he wanted to dye his lungs black, as if he wanted to turn the entire house into a nicotine paradise. His neighbor, Auntie Lee, simply couldn't bear to see him in this state. In the beginning, the Xie family had been quite well off, as both his parents were high-ranking members of the police force. Later, however, they committed a major error when handling a case and were both demoted to the lowest rank. At that time, his mother also fell ill. In order to pay for her treatment, they sold their large house and moved into an apartment in a small alley in the old city district of Huzhou. They pinched pennies to survive, but came to know many enthusiastic neighbors along the way. Oh, let's look at this art, by the way, before I get too far beyond this point. It's just him smoking in his house in his little nicotine paradise. Yeah. Please just be smoking Ben Affleck meme. You know, Blue, that's a good point. Honestly, a marriage like that doesn't sound that bad. Babe, just find yourself an asexual wife. You would have been so content. Yeah. Good point. With Henry, with modern Danmei, you keep forgetting they're hot. Oh, the plants. Those poor plants. Yeah. Xie Qingcheng hadn't even come of age when his parents passed away, yet he had to take on the responsibility of being the head of the household. And I see where his, personality comes from. All the neighbors pitied the Xie children and made sure to look after them, and Auntie Lee was especially attentive to Xie Qingcheng. Auntie Lee was a little younger than Xie Qingcheng's mother. She liked kids, but she never married and had no children of her own. She treated the Xie siblings as though they were her own precious babies, especially after their parents died. This untethered woman and the two orphaned children grew deeply attached to each other. After Xie Qingcheng's divorce, Auntie Lee wept for a long, long time. Then, like an old mother going bald from stress, she mustered up the energy to introduce girls to him. Oh. Auntie Lee. Oh, yeah. Okay, well, I didn't think about that. Yeah. Cool. Thanks, Meat Bun. In order to avoid hurting Auntie Lee's feelings, Xie Qingcheng attended every meeting she set up, but really, he was just going through the motions. Besides, from the perspective of those girls, he wasn't a great catch either. Xie Qingcheng's circumstances were considered excellent the first time he got married. He was handsome and tall, a doctor in his 20s at a provincial-level hospital. He was in the prime of his life, with boundless future prospects. His only tangible shortcoming was that he hadn't been born into a wealthy family and didn't have much money. But now, he was a divorcee, and his salary as a professor wasn't as high as when he had been a doctor. I'm still waiting to find out why he stopped being a doctor. Very curious about that. He wasn't that young anymore either, so naturally, his flaws became all the more conspicuous, like a set of unusually protruding ribs. What is he? 32? Didn't they say? I think it said he was 32 last time, and I'm just like, oh, thanks. Not making me feel old. Not only was he... Well, wait, is he 32? Maybe he's a little older. I forgot, because it says, not only was he a divorced man pushing 40, without a nice house or car, but he also had an unmarried younger sister he needed to look after, dragging him down like a child from a previous marriage. I swear it said 32. Maybe pushing 40 is just like an exaggeration, sort of like to emphasize how, like, how intense this, like, societal ideal is about, like, age. It's a meat bunism, probably. No matter how handsome he wasn't a celebrity, so he couldn't cash in on it to make a living. How could a girl's parents not mind? Turning up for matchmaking meetings and dating weren't the same. It was said that compatibility was determined by first impressions. But in reality, one's overall circumstances were the deciding factor. Thus, the conversations often went like this. Your job is pretty good, right? Do you have time to take care of a family? I don't. Because I'm a medical school professor, the course materials need to be very detailed and accurate. The students also have many questions, so I often work overtime. Oh, well, your salary isn't bad, right? I'll probably need to teach for another 3 years or so before I get a raise. But I'm not sure if I'll still be at that university at that time. Ah, I see. Do you have any other family? I have a younger sister. Is she married? Not yet. Silence. The interrogation was usually sharp and direct, dissecting one's circumstances like a surgical knife, and Xie Qingcheng's answers would completely erase the woman's initially hopeful smile. Auntie Li became terribly anxious when she found out about this. Hey, you have to talk yourself up on a matchmaking date. It's all an established convention. Everyone else is bragging, but you get there and downplay yourself from the get-go. People will think you're even lousier than you say you are. Who would know if you embellished a bit? I mean, they're gonna find out afterwards, but okay. Xie Qingcheng originally wanted to say, I don't want to remarry. But when he met Auntie Li's worried and sorrowful eyes, the words that came out of his mouth turned into, I've grown used to it. Sorry. Auntie Li looked at him with wide eyes. After a while, she sounded slightly choked up as she said, Child, you're so wonderful. How could Buddha possibly not bless you? I burn incense and pray every day, asking the heavens to find a fated marriage for my precious one. Then even if I died right now, it would be worth it. Auntie Li, please don't talk nonsense. I'm an old bag of bones. Why should I be afraid? But you're different. You're still young. If you don't live well in the future, how could I face your dad and Mu Ying in the underworld? Auntie Li cast her net wide, looking for all types of girls, in hopes that she could find a suitable marriage partner for him. Xie Qingcheng didn't like this one bit. He was a proud, arrogant, and unyielding man. He was unwilling to lie and disliked being scrutinized. As a result, his state of mind had done a 180 compared to when he had gone on a matchmaking date with Li Ruoqiu. Now, he was certain he would never share the rest of his life with anyone else. But with his patriarchal personality, how could he bear to let his friends and family cry and hurt because of him? He had to see them live happily under his protection and care. Thus, in order to make Auntie Li a little happier, he still agreed to go on those matchmaking dates that were akin to job interviews, even though the result was always a foregone conclusion. His matchmaking date today was with a much younger woman named Bai Jing, who worked at a luxury sales counter in Huzhou's most fashionable mall. A relative of hers was apparently a professor at a famous medical school. In this coastal city overflowing with wealth, there were plenty of rich people with millions in assets. Bai Jing spent her days amid the excessive extravagance of the luxury goods counter, listening to the obnoxious bragging of the men and women who frequented the store. This inevitably gave her the misconception that she was also very posh and glamorous. With her nose in the air, she judged people by the logos on their clothes. Those boys wearing Adidas and Nike were immediately labeled as penniless wretches in her mind. At any rate, they'd have to throw on some Prada at least to be good enough to talk to her. Oh dear. When Xia Qingcheng arrived at the cafe, Bai Jing was talking to her bestie on the phone. Ah yeah, totally. You have no idea. I run into those kinds of dumbasses every single day at work. Today, there was a mother and son. I don't know what the son was wearing. It was probably from Taobao. If I weren't such a professional, I would have rolled my eyes so hard. Ah, wearing Taobao to shop at our counter? Don't you think that's hilarious? Does Meat Bun just find a way to take a dig at Taobao in every novel? I know this is from, like, the perspective of a character that she does not agree with, but it's still really funny. Holding a teaspoon with her diamond-adorned pinky outstretched, she stirred her little cup of coffee. Bai Jing listened to her friend's reply and covered her mouth as she laughed. What can you buy with that? They definitely won't be able to afford it. The both of them would probably need half a year's salary to pay for a single pair of slippers from our counter. And let me tell you something, babe. Do you know what the boy asked when he came up to me? He said, "Do you sell baseball caps here? My mom likes working out and it's her birthday today. I want to buy her a baseball cap." Bai Jing laughed so hard she shook. I straight up told him, "I'm so sorry, the brands we carry here have never made baseball caps. Sir, are you unfamiliar with our brands?" Ha ha ha, if only you could have seen his face. It was incredible. Ah yeah, hold on, I think my date is here. I'll talk to you later then. Let's try out Bulgari for afternoon tea later, babe. Love ya. Mwah. Unfortunately, the cafe was noisy, so even though Xia Qingcheng was looking for Bai Jing, he didn't hear her obnoxious bragging. Bai Jing caught sight of Xia Qingcheng peering around and noticed that he fit the description given by the matchmaker. Very tall, very handsome, peach blossom eyes, but with a cold demeanor. She waved to him at once. Hi, are you Xia Qingcheng, Professor Xia? Xia Qingcheng walked over. Hello. Bai Jing gave him a once-over before finally locking her gaze on his simple t-shirt. Suddenly, a smile spread across her face as her voice coyly went up an octave. Hello, hello, I'm Bai Jing. Oh, that's the end of the chapter. Hi, Elsie. Well, the chapter ends there, and we are on page 73 for chapter 6, which is called And He Still Had to Go on Matchmaking Dates. Blue, you know who she reminds me of? Lux from the furniture dating game. I need to play that. What is that game called again? It sounds very wonderful. Before Xia Qingcheng arrived for their date, he had heard that this young woman cared a lot about a man's income. But contrary to his expectations, her enthusiasm didn't ebb after he told her his salary wasn't high at all. Interesting. Professor Xie, you're such an intellectual, truly so modest, Bai Jing beamed. It's not easy to find such straightforward men these days, you know. Xie Qingcheng was at a loss for words. Professor Xie, you seem to have great taste, continued Bai Jing. You are someone who appreciates the finer things in life, right? Xie Qingcheng frowned. No, I could tell the moment I saw the way you're dressed. Xie Qingcheng was even more dumbfounded. He had no idea what Bai Jing meant until she finally blurted it out, unable to hold herself back any longer. Professor Xie, The t-shirt you're wearing is a genuine article from our counter. There were only 5 or 6 pieces in stock in all of Huzhou, so they were extremely hard to get. Even if you buy its price and accessories, you still wouldn't be able to purchase it. You're so low-key. Oh, I forgot whose shirt he was wearing. Also, all that for a t-shirt, a plain t-shirt, come on. There's a footnote. A common practice for luxury goods in China requires consumers to spend a certain amount of money at the store before they can purchase a desirable item. Often, the amount they need to spend is equal to, or sometimes even more than, the price of the item. I'm pretty sure that, real, luxury goods stores in the US have something like that, too. You have to, I don't know why I ended up, watching a video on this at some point, but it's, you have to, build up trust at certain stores before they, let you pick out certain items. It's very ridiculous. Only then did Xie Qingcheng finally understand that the strange trajectory this date had taken was a result of the change of clothes He Yu had offhandedly given him. He pondered the girl's words for a moment, and then remembered what He Yu had said so casually. No need. I'm not accustomed to wearing clothes that other people have worn. Just toss it after you change. It was getting old anyway. The depravities of capitalism. Professor Xie, you're not being sincere with me on this date. Bai Jing smiled. The price of this shirt of yours is nearly a year's salary for many people, and it's very hard to purchase it domestically without connections. Yet you only invited me out for coffee? You've misunderstood, replied Xie Qingcheng. I borrowed the shirt from a friend. Borrowed? Bai Jing's eyes immediately widened. At this point, the conversation took a rather unremarkable turn. As soon as the formerly delighted salesgirl learned the truth, the matchmaking date returned to reality. Bai Jing's interest in Xie Qingcheng waned noticeably. After she coerced him into taking some selfies together, she pointed her camera at the dessert and clicked away before turning it on herself and doing the same. She was occasionally interrupted by messages from her customers, to which she replied with voice messages without the slightest hesitation or embarrassment. Mrs. Zhang, please don't worry. Of course I've kept that limited edition bag for you. You don't need to send me any more thank you gifts. It's not worth the trouble. Executive Wang, the dress you ordered has arrived. When would it be convenient for you to come to the shop? Yes, it's already been altered to your size. Plus size, but the front collar needs to be taken in 2 centimeters. Don't worry, I've noted it all down here. The meal was exceptionally awkward. Xie Qingcheng footed the bill and lowered his gaze to glance at Bai Jing. This young woman was about the same age as his students. He never harbored any genuine matchmaking intentions, and only wanted to fulfill Auntie Li's wishes, so he didn't take any of Bai Jing's words or actions to heart. Plus, he had old-fashioned ideas about chivalry, so he said, I'll call a taxi for you. Alrighty, Bai Jing said, without a trace of politeness. Thanks a bunch, Professor Xie. They were on Huzhou's busiest street, and it was the evening rush hour. The two of them waited for a long time, but all the taxis that passed by were already occupied. Xie Qingcheng sighed. If you don't mind, I can walk with you for a bit. It'll be easier to call a car if we turn the corner up ahead. That's fine, Bai Jing replied, but I have to start a live stream at 8 o'clock. I've already scheduled it, and my fans will be upset if I bail at the last minute. Do you mind? Xie Qingcheng didn't use streaming apps, but he'd heard a bit about them from Xie Shui. Hearing Bai Jing's words, he asked without thinking, You're a streamer as well? Yep, I work very hard. I'll become a top streamer soon enough, heh. Xie Qingcheng nodded. It's always good to have a dream. Let's go then, I don't mind. Oh, thank you, Goga. You might not be very rich, but you're still pretty handsome. Bai Jing caught up to him with a smile. One more thing. If you were in the frame a little, that's okay, yeah? Everyone likes to see good-looking guys. Henry, I don't want to hear about streamers in my Danmei. It does feel sort of funny. Do as you like. 10 minutes later, Xie Qingcheng very much regretted his words. He was truly out of the loop and had no idea that young people would watch streams like this nowadays. Bai Jing took a pink selfie stick out of her bag and started waving it around in random directions. The words that came out of her mouth somehow seemed like meaningless lines spoken by an actor. Even after she had rambled on at length, he still didn't know what she was trying to say. This is Huzhou's busiest street, full of beautiful guys and gals. Hey everyone, see the bag that person's carrying over there? That's a high-quality fake. I can tell with just one look. If you want to learn how to tell whether something's authentic or not, remember to follow me. Oh yeah, next to me, here's a nice piece of eye candy I met today. He has a great personality, is an extremely educated professor, and has a salary in the millions. Do you all see that sold-out t-shirt he's wearing? Ah, yes, that's right. He's the one who took me out to dinner, and now he's walking me home. Thanks for your blessings, everyone. Thank you. Xie Qingcheng suspected his ears might have stopped working. Just when he was about to turn around and refute her, Bai Jing had already muted the mic with a nimble tap of the screen. Sorry, Goga. It's not easy to make a living. Could you please not expose me? Xie Qingcheng had no words. He simply couldn't understand why some people like to put up a front online, showing off manufactured happiness and using inflated materialism to attract viewers. But whatever, he didn't want to argue any further with the silly girl either. This matchmaking date would have just ended like this, with Xie Qingcheng silently enduring this ordeal. If they hadn't run into someone, that is. That someone appeared unexpectedly at a three-way intersection. Xie Qingcheng and Bai Jing had already walked for more than 10 minutes and stopped at a less crowded section of the block to wait for a taxi. Bai Jing was in the middle of animatedly introducing the new high-end products of the season to her fans on the stream. Halfway through her spiel, the perceptive Bai Jing suddenly noticed a blurry shadow close in behind her through her front camera. That shadow was swaying back and forth in hesitation. She didn't pay it any mind at first, but shortly thereafter, the shadow began to approach her quickly. By the time she realized it, the face of a dirty old homeless man was already reflected on her screen, rushing directly at her. Startled, Bai Jing glanced behind her and let out a scream. It was an unkempt old man emanating an unbearable odor. His clothes were so tattered with holes of varying sizes that they'd never be wearable again once they were taken off. A lame yellow dog dashed over on his heels and began to bark wildly at Bai Jing. Daughter, daughter, I finally found you, daughter. Eek, what's your problem? Who's your daughter? Go away. No. But you're my daughter? Daughter, don't you recognize your dad? Come here. Let Dad take a look at you. Dad hasn't seen you in so long. The old man didn't seem to be in the right state of mind. Weeping and overcome with emotion, he tried to hug Bai Jing. Bai Jing's pretty face turned pale with shock. She took several steps back, her stream still running as she shrieked hysterically, Are you insane? Who are you? Get the hell away. Daughter, how can you not recognize me? Tears streamed down the old man's face. He scrambled forward, his blackened and shriveled fingers extending like coals, unwilling to die in the fading embers. He tried to wrap his trembling arms around the girl before him. I missed you. Papa missed you. The man spoke with a thick rural accent from the Central Plains. Obviously, he wasn't the father of Bai Jing, who was a Huzhou native. Xie Qingcheng immediately figured out what was going on and pulled Bai Jing behind him. It's okay. Stay behind me, he reassured her. He's so scary, Bai Jing wailed in fright. How can this kind of person be out wandering the streets? Doesn't the city care? Ah! She let out another hysterical scream as she jumped up and down. As it turned out, the yellow dog that had followed the old man over was circling and sniffing at her feet. Help! It wants to bite me. What's wrong with this dog? Where's its leash? Baijing took off running as she screeched. Panicked, she wanted to use the phone in her hand to call the police. Lord. To her, a homeless old man was already alarming enough, but an ugly street dog like this was even more terrifying. They both deserved to get locked up, especially since they scared her and interrupted her live stream. Hey, wait a minute. Her live stream. Baijing suddenly realized that she had been streaming the entire time. She hurriedly raised her phone to take a look. A few seconds later, her pupils shrank violently in complete disbelief. Her ordinary and unremarkable live streams usually only had 20 or 30 viewers, but this time, because of this unexpected surprise, her audience had grown to more than 300 viewers in just a few minutes. Your precious live stream. The viewer count was still increasing rapidly, and the scrolling comment section filled instantly with remarks in real time. Shit, what happened? A nightmare in Huzhou? Looks like a run-in with a crazy homeless man. Streamer, are you alright? Turn the camera, we want to see what's happening. So thrilling. This is right next to my house. That homeless old man's not a pervert, is he? He actually tried to hug the streamer. Streamer, look. If it's serious, you need to call the police immediately. Amid those comments, rising like helium balloons, a rocket suddenly flew up and exploded on the screen. Somebody had sent her a 500 RMB tip. Baijing flinched. The shock of this explosion brought her back to her senses. She suddenly realized what she should do. Hastily running her fingers through her hair, she adjusted the camera angle, then rushed out from behind Xie Qingcheng before he could react. Be careful, yelled Xie Qingcheng. He never could have imagined that the girl who had been so terrified a second ago would now be standing with her pretty face upturned, heedless of danger, next to the homeless old man. She'd even made sure to adjust her pricey little purse beforehand so that it was hanging off her back, out of the old man's reach. Let's get this straight, Baijing cried. Your accent is from out of town, so how could you possibly be my dad? Stinky old man, you're a pervert who wanted to use this chance to take advantage of me. Do you think I couldn't tell? Have some sense of dignity, okay? Shocked, the old man retreated. The situation was turned on its head. Xie Qingcheng realized that the old man's intentions might not have been malicious at all. Upon closer examination, the grief in the man's expression was too profound to be feigned. Xie Qingcheng couldn't help but frown. Miss Bai, can you turn off the live stream? This old gentleman doesn't look like he's in a very good state. He might have mistaken you for someone else. Why don't you call city management first? Let's take care of this. But why would Baijing listen to him? The viewer count in her stream was rising steadily. She didn't even find the old man stinky anymore. She brought her powdered face even closer to him. Hey, come take a look. Everyone, come take a look. Baijing had the homeless man look at her phone screen. She positioned the selfie stick so that the front-facing camera had them both in frame. Old pervert, look at me, then look at yourself. You think I'm your daughter? Take a good look. Look at your shabby clothes, your messy hair, and filthy face. Can you still say you weren't trying to be a lecher? The homeless old man was stumped for a moment. His eyes then followed the direction of her pointed finger, and he squinted as he looked up along the selfie stick. After getting a good look at the two of them on the phone screen, the old man was taken aback at first. Then, as if suddenly realizing how utterly pathetic he appeared, he tried to make a hasty escape. Once he began to run, Baijing got even more excited. Apparently, all that was needed to make a clean freak streamer overcome her phobia to film herself pressed up against an unkempt old man was a surge in her follower count. Look, everyone, this is a perfect example of covert harassment. He must be faking his psychological issues. Watch me expose his true colors. Baijing chased after the old man to get him into the frame. Hey, get over here, she shouted. Didn't you just call me your daughter? This feels too... Yeah, Henry, I was just thinking about that. Like, the way that things like this happened Like the way that Meat Bun does social commentary in other books, and the way she just like translated that to the modern day here. And I hate it because even though everything like it feels really exaggerated, I can still totally see something like this happening on like certain kinds of live streams like this. Or like the streamers that like purposely harass people on the street. Like I can see someone like that doing something like this. Yeah. Huzhou is such a big city with good public security. Yet you still dare to scam people here? Have you gotten a whiff of yourself? You reek. Get over here. The old man's head seemed to have cleared a bit, but not entirely. His gaze was half muddled, half lucid. Watching from the sidelines, Xie Qingcheng was certain this old man wasn't trying to take advantage of her. The man's mental state seemed very poor. If Xie Qingcheng had to describe him, he would say that this old man was like a scrawny dog who'd wandered across half of China before finally drifting into the misty rains of Jiangnan. There's a footnote. The Jiangnan is the geographical area south of the Yangtze River known for its wet climate. In this setting, Huzhou is part of the Jiangnan region. The concept of searching had been carved into his bones. With just one glance, he could tell he had lost something and had been looking for it all this time. But Bai Jing didn't care about any of that. Although she had been a streamer for over half a year, her performance was mediocre, and she hadn't been able to attract many viewers. She was furiously envious of her hardworking peers, who were able to make a living through live streaming. Not long ago, when she had failed to garner attention despite trying everything she could think of, she had gone to the pages of a few well-known influencers in a rage to flood their comment sections with hateful remarks. One day, she cursed one out. "Why are you putting on a show like this? Acting like you have some perfect life, as if everything doesn't just run on money. The rural lifestyle you're showing isn't real at all." The next day, she targeted another. Here's a man using the money that a woman earned with her blood, sweat, and tears to buy a luxurious villa. Everyone said it already. Every tube of lipstick you buy was made from the skeletons in his closet. When are the women still buying his things going to wake up? And, the day after, she focused her wrath on yet another influencer. "I can't believe you call yourself an independent, self-made modern woman. You're just selling your trauma all day long. Isn't live streaming your job? You're tired, but you're still earning money. You get cussed out, but you're still earning money. Everyone gives you so much money. What do you have to complain about?" Yeah, Blue, that's the vibe I'm getting. Meatbun doesn't hate all influencers, just the ones that are fake and expect fame with no hard work. No one knew about the vicious expression that would appear on her face when she was tapping furiously away on her phone under her covers. On the subways whizzing through tunnels, in the bustling skyscrapers, amid the whirl of designer clothes and expensive perfume, bathed in the golden dazzle of luxury, everyone called her Cindy, never Bai Jing. In her towering high heels, she toiled at her job, bowing deferentially to her honored guests. Bending at the waist, she always gave her all to maintain her composure as she crouched down to buckle Mrs. Chen or Mrs. Li's shoes with slender, pale, jade-like hands, and then walked them out through the spacious golden foyer with a respectful bow. No one knew how many times she had stared after those graceful figures and thought, "One day, I'll have the proudest salesgirls welcome me with a bow too." She wanted money and fame so badly, her eyes reddened with hunger. Thus, she forgot her fears and lost her germophobic tendencies. She also failed to see the old homeless man's trembling lips and the hot tears welling up in his blurry eyes. "Is your daughter from Huzhou? Your daughter?" she scoffed, her words dripping with disdain. "Who knows if a stinky old man like you was ever married? All you do is make up reasons to act crazy and harass women. What are you hiding for? Weren't you acting all grabby with me just now? Let everyone see your face. Come on." No, no. Terrified, the old man shrank his head back and stooped over. The cries coming out of his mouth sounded like the wails of an infant, mixed with vague mumbling. I'm sorry, I got the wrong person. You're sorry? What use is that? Get over here. Look at the camera. Take a look at what you're wearing. If you want to come out and scam people, you could at least make yourself look presentable first. In the comments filling the screen, audience members who didn't understand the full situation were cheering on the courageous female streamer who was fighting back against street harassment from a crazed homeless man. Tips began to flow, and balloons began to rise, and Bai Jing's heart felt like it was swelling up right alongside them. The harried old man feebly shrunk away, plummeting from the excitement of reuniting with his daughter, only to realize that he was mistaken. The throes of his delusion gave way to helplessness as he came to his senses and tried to flee the escalating situation. Under the watchful camera lens, he was like an old dog with nowhere to run. Dazed by the relentless pursuit of the so-called justice, he held his head and cowered, just like the stray dog that accompanied him. Please stop filming, I beg you. I got the wrong person. Stop filming. Young miss, please stop filming. The old man's entire body was trembling, his legs shaking like sifting chaff underneath his tattered pants. He covered his face, wanting to shield it from the camera, only to realize that he also wanted to cover his ratty clothes. In the end, he didn't know what he should hide. It felt as though every bit of flesh on his body, every article of clothing, was not fit to be seen, an embarrassment not to be shown to others. A flood of tears rushed down the creases of his wizened face. He shrank to the ground, practically kneeling as he begged for Bai Jing's mercy. Please, miss, spare me. Undeterred, Bai Jing was about to say something when her selfie stick was suddenly snatched away. Without the slightest courtesy, Xia Qingcheng removed her phone and tossed her selfie stick to the side. Hey, you, what are you doing? What are you doing? I've already told you. This old man seems to be mentally unwell, and I asked you not to trigger him. Can't you hear, or are you too daft to understand? Xia Qingcheng cut off the stream. A series of brilliant colors like a carousel lantern flashed through Bai Jing's face. She stomped her high heels and raged at Xia Qingcheng. How's this any of your business? Give me back my phone. I have a right to stream. Don't you know that I need to earn money? I want to be an influencer. Whatever you want has nothing to do with me. Xia Qingcheng's expression was frosty. His paternalistic tendencies surfaced once more as he scolded her without blinking an eye. However, Miss Bai, do you have any shame? Can't you see what state he's in? To get views, you'll keep on going even though you know it's wrong. You choose unscrupulous methods, even when you know the consequences. Despite knowing full well the pain your actions will bring to others, you have no qualms about exploiting it for attention because you're not the one getting hurt. Have you no conscience? What are you saying? Stop trying to discipline me. Are you my dad? You're just someone who had a matchmaking date with me today. It's none of your business. Bai Jing's temper flared as she rushed up to Xia Qingcheng to snatch her phone back. But Xia Qingcheng's temper was firier than hers. He pinned Bai Jing in place and stared down at her, his eyes cutting into her like razor blades. To you, a person's dignity and life are worth less than the viewers you can attract in a single live stream. You really are a fucking freak of nature. You have the guts to call me names? Bai Jing cried. You wretched beggar. Enraged, she pounced forward and tried to slap Xia Qingcheng. But Xia Qingcheng grabbed her by the wrist. With a sudden burst of force, he twisted her arm, making her shriek in pain. If you keep making a fuss, said Xia Qingcheng icily, not only will I have the guts to call you names, but I'll also have the guts to beat you up. Let go. If you don't let go, I'll call the police. I'll scream for help. Although there weren't many people on the street, they had caused a rather loud disturbance. Some passers-by had already stopped to observe from afar. But Xia Qingcheng couldn't care less. To him, the gazes of others were nothing more than empty air to begin with. However, he was caught off guard by a sudden shout from a sharp-eyed older woman from the crowd. "Oh my God, what's wrong with that old man?" Xie Qingcheng looked down at him immediately. The old man's mental state was fragile in the first place. But after mistaking Bai Jing for his daughter, and then being filmed and chased by her, his heart couldn't handle the emotional distress anymore. His lips turned pale, and the blood drained from his face. He clutched at his chest and doubled over, curling like a shrimp, before suddenly collapsing to the ground with a thud. That's the end of the chapter. Well, it's time for me to take a break. Perfect time for a break right about now. So I'm gonna go for about 10 minutes, and when I come back, we will be on chapter 7, which is called "He Asked Me About My Driving Skills." So somehow, I sense that they will be reunited again soon. Possibly in an attempt to take this man to a hospital or something. I hope. So, yeah. Yeah, I really like the way that the chapter titles are written. Henry. Will we see him rolling? Are they hating? Oh no, it's gonna get stuck in my head. Can't wait to finish the volumes so I can read them all in one go and see if they sound like a song. Oh, interesting. All the chapters titles together. Yeah, that could make some interesting lyrics. Okay, yeah. I'm gonna go. I will be back shortly. Hello, I'm back. Sorry, Sorry that took so long. Um, oh, are y'all talking about the Carly Rae Jepsen, Call Me Maybe video? The video is such a classic. Y'all can't see it because it's like a little further away on my wall, than the camera will show, but there is a Carly Rae Jepsen poster, like, behind me. Somewhere back here. Um, so... We are on page 87, chapter 7. He asked me about my driving skills. As a former doctor, Xie Qingcheng acted without hesitation. He flung Bai Jing away and bent down to check the old man's condition. In clinical medicine, an acute myocardial infarction, or a severe heart attack, was a cardiovascular emergency with an extremely high mortality rate. A sudden onset of intense emotion was one of the major triggers for the condition in elderly people. Bai Jing, who hadn't realized what was going on, was still busy cursing at him. Xie Jingcheng rolled up his sleeves to begin administering first aid. He turned back and snapped at her. "Don't just stand there and stare. The patient is having a severe heart attack. Call an ambulance. Hurry up." What does a severe heart attack have to do with... A severe heart attack? Bai Jing was dumbstruck. Her glittery gold eyeliner only emphasized the shock and fear in her eyes. The color in the girl's face drained instantly. She stood frozen, like a dazed goose, not knowing whether to advance or retreat. "Don't you know the emergency services number?" Xie Qingcheng snapped. Bai Jing might have known it at one point, but with the situation devolving so quickly, she drew nothing but a blank. What is it? 120. Oh. Bai Jing didn't expect that things would turn out like this, with a precious human life in danger. She hastily picked up the phone that Xie Qingcheng had tossed back to her and dialed the emergency number. "Hello? 110? Oh, no, don't hang up. I misspoke. I don't want to call the police. I was calling your number. There's an old man here who's had a severe fainting attack." No, what was it? Severe heart failure. Severe heart attack. Yes, a heart attack. After stammering her way through the call, Bai Jing let out a breath and managed to collect herself a bit. However, she was still too afraid to get close to Xie Qingcheng and the old homeless man. Xie Qingcheng wiped away the secretions from the old man's mouth and nose and carefully laid him down flat so that he wouldn't choke. His forehead was already dripping with sweat when he looked up at Bai Jing and said, "Come help." "No way," Bai Jing immediately retorted. "It's so disgusting. Who knows if he has AIDS or some other contagious disease? And my clothes are very expensive. They'll be ruined if I get them dirty." Xie Qingcheng was furious. AIDS isn't transmitted like that. What's more important, your clothes or someone's life? Come here and help. "Absolutely not. Is this emotional blackmail? Do you know how long I had to work to buy an outfit like this? How long I had to wait? Besides, he must have some underlying condition that's just acting up, so it wasn't my fault. With a cry, the old man spat out another mouthful of white foam. Bai Jing's throat tightened at the sight, and she nearly retched. She retreated, taking one step after another backward. "Don't force me. I can't." Luckily, an older woman ran out from the circle of observers at this moment. "Little girl, do you have a conscience?" she yelled at Bai Jing. "You'll grow old one day, too. You're dressed in such flashy, glamorous clothes, and yet your heart is so rotten." Bai Jing started. The older woman rolled her eyes, ignoring her, then turned to Xie Qingcheng. "Tell me what to do. I'll help." This was a classic example of herd mentality. When a crowd quietly watches from afar, no one is willing to take the initiative to step forward and help. But once a single person breaks from that crowd to lend a hand, others emerge like spring shoots after rain. Soon, those who had been observing from a distance and afraid of getting involved started to inch closer. People appeared, offering to look around for a pharmacy to buy emergency medicine and waving fans to cool them down. And Bai Jing found herself forcibly pushed to the side. However, no matter how enthusiastic the crowd, they couldn't resolve the urgent matter at hand. They could only anxiously wait as the minutes ticked by. Alas, things didn't go so smoothly. Right at this juncture, Bai Jing's phone rang. It was a call from the hospital. There's been a very unfortunate situation. A surface collapse broke a water main. The main highway to your current location is flooded, and there's no way for an ambulance to get through. There's another path through local streets, but we can't get in at all. There's too much traffic, and it's also the wrong way up a one-way street, so we had to turn around. I thought that if any car can go the wrong way up a one-way street and get through traffic, it's an ambulance with the lights on, but okay. Bai Jing reported the situation to Xie Qingcheng, who was still administering first aid to the old man. How much longer? Xie Qingcheng asked sharply. This time, Bai Jing was cowed. She hurriedly conveyed his question. How much longer will it take? We have to take another route. It'll be at least 30 minutes. Xie Qingcheng looked at the old man's situation. 30 minutes would be the difference between life and death. How were they so unlucky that something went awry now? And for a broken water main to flood a whole major highway? He was still at a loss as to what to do when two glaring headlights suddenly flashed from the intersection. A black Rolls-Royce Cullinan adorned with the little winged hood ornament cruised silently under the glow of the street lamps. The car glided right over to the corner of the one-way street where the incident was unfolding, its rectangular taillights calmly illuminating their surroundings. Bai Jing's instinct to stream about all things luxurious, even at this critical juncture when someone's life was on the line, was difficult to temper. She barely repressed her urge to raise her phone and aim it at the Cullinan, for fear that if she were a second too late, it would drive off and disappear. But she never could have anticipated that this Cullinan would actually slowly make its way over to them and come to a stop. Also, I have no idea if I'm saying that right. I have never heard of this model of Rolls-Royce before. Bai Jing's eyes widened at the incredulous events unfolding. Her pupils only contracted even further as she watched the rear window of the luxury car of her dreams silently roll down. A young woman poked her head out and shouted to Xie Qingcheng, who was in the middle of administering emergency treatment to the old man beside her. Guh. Bai Jing was flabbergasted. He Yu invited me out for barbecue, so we were just passing by, said Xie Shui. I saw someone in the distance and thought it looked just like you, so I had him come take a look. It really is you. Oh my god, what's wrong with the person next to you? Did something happen? Xie Qingcheng looked up at his sister. He Yu was sitting in the recesses of the genuine leather seat, hidden in the darkness on the other side of the vehicle. Those looking in could only make out his calm and elegant profile. His silhouette was especially handsome and refined, but upon closer examination, one could almost sense a bestial and depraved aura emanating from the young man. Xie Qingcheng didn't want to inconvenience He Yu, but he didn't have many options. We ran into an ill person. He was emotionally triggered and had a severe heart attack. I gave him some basic treatment, but he needs to go to the emergency room. Xie Shui was stunned. Where's the ambulance? We called, but the road conditions are poor. It'll take 30 more minutes before they arrive. Upon hearing this, Xie Shui immediately opened the car door and jumped out, rushing to the old man's side. She didn't show the slightest disdain toward him, but she had no medical training whatsoever and could only stand by helplessly. She shouted anxiously at the car, He Yu, come out and help. The The depraved gentleman stepped out of the car, took one look at the old man's purpling lips, and immediately said, "We'll go in my car." Henry, he looked beautiful and especially mentally ill today. Shue, the fool, asked, "What will you do if other drivers don't make way for you? I mean, it's still rush hour." "I'd like to see him try," He Yu sneered. He turned to the driver and asked, "Lao Jiao, can you drive smoothly?" "I can drive smoothly, but I'm used to being careful, so I might not be fast." "Besides, young Master He, even if you told me to crash the car, I wouldn't dare." And that was in the driver's mind. "Then get out." He Yu rolled up his sleeves. With one long-legged step, he got into the driver's seat. And we drink because long legs are mentioned. He pulled down the handbrake without even glancing at it, chewing his gum as he said, "Get in. We'll be at the municipal hospital in 10 minutes. "Do you have a license?" Xie Qingcheng asked. "Nope," replied He Yu expressionlessly. "Are you coming or not?" "He does." Xie was truly fed up with the two of them, especially He Yu. Even at a time like this, he was still sparring with her brother. He just finished converting his overseas license to a domestic one. Don't listen to his nonsense. Under Xie Qingcheng's guidance, they carefully lifted the old man into the Cullinan. After everyone got into the car, He Yu fastened his seatbelt. He was about to floor the gas pedal and bring the vehicle to a death-defying speed when that lame little dog darted up and started to bark incessantly at the people on the other side of the slowly closing car doors. Xie was soft-hearted. When she saw the tiny, pitiful dog limping behind its master to the car, she couldn't help but say, "Poor thing." He Yu glanced at her. Then the passenger side door opened again. "Bring it inside." Xie immediately jumped down to pick up the dirty little yellow dog by its armpits and carried it into the car. The pitiful animal whimpered. As if sensing that it hadn't been abandoned, it turned to look at the old man lying in the back seat, then raised its fluffy snout, its black bean nose sniffing gratefully at Xie cheek. Then it stuck its head over to the driver's seat, giving the young man a careful lick on the cheek with its damp tongue. He Yu ignored the dog's affections. With the press of a button, his rearview mirror returned to his customized position as he gripped the steering wheel with long, slender hands. "Call emergency services back and explain our situation. Let's go." Do we drink to long, slender hands as well? Yes. Dog motif, we keep winning. Thankfully, because the old man had received professional first aid immediately and had been promptly taken to the hospital, he was finally no longer in critical condition after half a night's rescue efforts. Outside the emergency care unit's patient ward, Xie Qingcheng signed a stack of forms and opened an app on his phone to pay the bill, only to find that he didn't quite have enough money. Just as he was wondering what he should say to the worker at the service window, a hand reached out from behind him and passed a credit card through the slot. Xie Qingcheng turned to see He Yu's face. "Why are you here?" "It's fine," He Yu said. "No need to thank me." Because the old man was homeless, they couldn't find or contact any of his family members. He also didn't have his ID card on him, so certain administrative procedures were very inconvenient. If it weren't for the fact that Xie Qingcheng had once worked at this municipal hospital and knew the director of the emergency care unit's night shift, this might have caused a bigger issue. Now, even though the old man was no longer in danger, many administrative orders of business needed to be retroactively completed. The hospital even contacted the municipal department in charge of the homeless population for assistance. As for the enthusiastic group of Good Samaritans, He Yu and the others also couldn't leave for the time being. After paying the bill, He Yu and Xie Qingcheng went out to the gardens behind the hospital for some fresh air, and He Yu struck up a conversation. That Bai woman, she was your matchmaking date? You asked. Hmm. Where is she? Resting with Shie Shue in the underground parking lot. Since it was so late, both of them had grown a little sleepy. Shie Shue was worried, so she had me come up to see how you were doing. Yu then asked, how come you were on a matchmaking date with a girl like that? Xie Qingcheng's expression was flat. It was just dinner. Then you should have just rejected the matchmaker outright. The way I see it, you weren't taking it seriously either. Plus, isn't she about the same age as Xie Xue? You're already middle-aged. It's not very appropriate. Ah, yes, here is confirmation of his age. Since Xie Qingcheng was less tense now, He Yu's words irritated him. 32 years old was middle-aged? That's what I've been saying. Like, when it was, like, pushing 40, I was like, excuse me. Excuse me. What a nutcase. If it weren't for the fact that He Yu had helped him out today, he definitely would have said, little devil, it's none of your fucking business. But he had just used He Yu as a driver and then as an ATM, so he had no right to curse him out too viciously. Xie Qingcheng shot him a glance through bloodshot eyes, stiffly enduring the word middle-aged, and coldly replied, you're right, young Master He. I truly don't want to waste my breath on little kids below the age of 30 anymore. Both of them fell silent. The little kid and the middle-aged man verbally sparred each other tit for tat, but neither of them could get the upper hand. Thus, Xie Qingcheng decided to simply turn away. The wisteria-covered walkway behind the municipal hospital was very long. With his hands in his pockets, Xie Qingcheng walked silently ahead, his expression flat. 10 years ago, he'd often pass through this way, though back then, the garden hadn't been fully completed yet. There were even unauthorized stall-keepers at the two ends of the pathway selling Tianjin-style jianbing, porridge, noodles, and rice balls before the city management officers arrived to put an end to the illegal activity. There's a footnote for Tianjin-style jianbing. Thin pancakes wrapped around fried dough sticks, youtiao, with a sweet and savory sauce, tianmianjiang. That sounds really good. Now the garden presented a scenic picture with every step. Later, Xie Qingcheng resigned from his post at the municipal hospital, and in the years that followed, he never walked through this wisteria path again. Tell me why he resigned. I want to know. This literal walk down memory lane reminded him of the past. After a lengthy silence, Xie Qingcheng abruptly spoke up. Hey, little devil. Do all of you youngsters these days want to become internet celebrities? I'm not interested. But they earn a lot of money, so it's true that there are many who do. Is that Beijing an internet celebrity? How did you know? He Yu grinned. I could tell. Then he asked, did that old gentleman's sudden illness have to do with her? The night wind blew past, rustling through the vines. He mistook her for his daughter, so Beijing chased after him while she was live streaming, replied Xie Qingcheng. He was hiding from the camera the whole time, begging her to stop filming, but she refused to listen. She could only see how many people had entered her live stream, and how many people wanted to follow her account. After a pause, he asked, what is the point of it all? He Yu sighed. Xie Qingcheng, the things you find meaningless are tickets to a whole new life for certain people. You find the way they chase fame and profit bizarre, but in the same vein, they can't understand your way of thinking either. Humans are all the same species, but we're also the ones with the greatest barriers to empathy. We're often incapable of mutual trust, much less mutual understanding. Sometimes, when two people look at each other, it's as if they're looking at organisms from an entirely different genus. Well, That was very profound, Yu. Also, yeah, Little Devil as a pet name. I love that. At this point, Yu's phone suddenly rang. It was his driver. As it turned out, Yu had terrorized the streets with his wild driving. The traffic police on patrol had flown into a rage and chased them all the way to the hospital. Young Master He, why don't we ask the doctor to explain things to them? The driver suggested. There were extenuating circumstances. It's nothing, replied Yu. Just let them deduct the points and pay the fines. There's no point in wasting time on this. He hung up. Is your spare cash burning a hole in your wallet? Asked Xie Qingcheng. To me, time is money. I don't like to waste time on unnecessary things, like needless explanations to government employees. Who knows? They might even ask a reporter to write some moving story about it. He Yu's almond eyes lowered, his pitch-black pupils appearing so apathetic they seemed to hold a hint of subtle perversity, even as the corners of his mouth curved up in a smile. I may as well chat a little longer with you. In any case, you can do the same things they do, right? For example, checking my driver's license. Xie Qingcheng didn't respond. As the man's expression grew uglier, the teasing mockery at the corners of He Yu's mouth slowly diffused into his eyes. With his hands in his pockets, he cast his glance ahead, not at Xie Qingcheng's face anymore, but rather at a random spot before him. Then he leaned forward slightly, tilting his face toward Xie Qingcheng's neck. He lowered his head. His... Sorry, what's... He lowered his head, his thin lips stopping just short of Xie Qingcheng's carotid artery. Okay. That's how he likes to be threatening. Yeah, totally. Maintaining his position, he gazed into the distance and spoke quietly into the man's ear. Guh, how was my driving? Xie Qingcheng answered with silence, his expression growing even cloudier. Why was He Yu still holding a grudge against him for asking about his driver's license? Just how petty was this person exactly? Xie Qingcheng scoffed a little, and with a chilly look, he responded, Practice some more when you get the chance. If you stop being so hot-headed, young man, you can become a driver after you graduate. He didn't want to waste any more breath on He Yu after that, so he brushed away the dangling vines in front of him with a frigid expression and walked on ahead. But He Yu wasn't finished with him yet, or maybe he'd gotten into the swing of mocking him. He continued his sarcastic questioning, like a dog with a bone. Executive Xie, if I worked as your driver, what kind of car would you have me chauffeur you in? How much would I get paid per month? Xie Qingcheng didn't look back as he answered, a Hongguang Mini, and then I'll give you a drug prescription. Take it if you want, get lost if you don't. And a Hongguang Mini is a tiny electric car model. That sounds very cute. With his hands in his pockets, He Yu stared at his back. He kicked at something with his sneakers, his expression perverse as he cursed softly. A prescription? You sure are something else, Xie Qingcheng. I'll really need to pay you back for that one. And that's the end of the chapter. We have one more chapter today. Chapter 8 on page 99. He even ordered me around like a servant. There is something really satisfying about the phrasing of these chapter titles. And it's like, it's the meat bun thing of them having sort of a... They're not exactly the same, but they're sort of like this consistent pattern. But it's also very different from like the Arha chapters, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. Half an hour later, an employee from the Department of Homeless Services of the Bureau of Civil Affairs showed up. He thanked the medical staff and everyone who had come with Xie Qingcheng as he explained the situation. This old man is called Zhuang Zhiqiang. He really is a stubborn old nail house. Ooh. Another footnote. Nail house is a term for people who refuse to vacate their residences even under pressure from property developers. Xie Xue and Bai Jing, who'd insisted on hitching a ride, had also come up from the underground parking garage. They sat on the sofa in the doctor's office to listen to the details. Mr. Zhuang Zhiqiang, his situation is rather unique. Homeless Services has been struggling to resolve this problem. The employee wrung his hands and took a sip of the tea that the nurses had brewed in disposable paper cups. He smacked his lips and sighed. He came to Huzhou about 3 years ago and said that he was looking for his daughter. But we checked the registry. He's just an old man who lives all by himself. He doesn't have any family. He used to reside in a yaodong in Shanzhou, a place so poor even birds don't want to live there. An yaodong is a type of rural dwelling carved out of a hillside. I got 2 footnotes on that page. Yeah, Blue, that's it. With the chapter titles, it's like He Yu is talking directly to us. There's just something fun about that. Where was I? Yeah, he didn't have any neighbors whatsoever. And he had to walk over a mile just to get water. We even sent people down to inquire with the other villagers. And they all said that the old man was very antisocial, and that they didn't know anything about him at all. But that's not an excuse for you to shirk your responsibilities, Bai Jing blurted out stridently. Shouldn't you lock up people who pose a danger to society? He disrupts the municipal environment and might even attack others. Miss, you must understand, the employee said with an awkward expression. We can't lock up the homeless, they're citizens as well. We can only arrange housing for them or send them to a hospital for medical care. I'm having feelings as an American right now. No one would ever say that here. Bai Jing's tone was vicious. I don't care. Nutcases should all be forcibly institutionalized. Shouldn't all these abnormal things be quarantined? Before this exchange, He Yu hadn't yet formed an opinion on this woman. He was someone who didn't have a particularly strong moral compass. In other words, he had a rather high tolerance for all sorts of people. To him, what Xie Qingcheng had told him about her wasn't even worthy of comment. Everyone had their own way of living, their own choices. But Bai Jing's rant about nutcases really was tap dancing right on young Master He's nerves. When someone makes it about you, then you feel it. The corners of He Yu's mouth suddenly curved into a slightly mocking smile, but he lowered his head and kept quiet. The employee from the Department of Homeless Services wiped away his sweat. Young lady, please calm down a little. Since Mr. Zhuang Zhiqiang's condition does seem likely to worsen to the point where he might lose his ability to function in society, we'll take him to our affiliate psychiatric hospital for treatment and supervision once his situation here improves. Which psychiatric hospital? Xie Qingcheng suddenly asked. Given the current situation, it'll probably be Changkang. Even though it's not the best in terms of facilities and management, the accommodations we have reserved with Wanping have already been filled up. There's nothing we can do. Hearing this, Bai Jing was finally satisfied. That's more like it, she muttered. Just as they were talking, the emergency doctor arrived. He informed them about Zhuang Jichang's condition. Because he had been treated in time, he was no longer in mortal danger. One visitor was allowed if they wanted to go check on him. A girl would be best, the doctor explained. The patient is still in a state of confusion. He keeps trying to look for his doctor. Xie Xue stood up. I'll go. She followed the doctor out of the room. He Yu had been sprawled over the reception room sofa with his elbow propped up on his back, listening to the conversation with his head lowered and an indifferent expression on his face. However, now that Xie Xue was leaving, he swung his long legs down and prepared to get up as well. "Hold it," said Xie Qingcheng, his guarded wariness obvious. "What's wrong? Why are you following my sister around all the time?" The schoolboy sat back down on the sofa, falling silent for a moment. Though it seemed like they were having a sophisticated and courteous conversation, his almond eyes were, in fact, full of derision and ridicule. "Then what if I follow you around all the time instead, Dr. Xie?" He's following her around because he has a crush on her. All right. To this, Xie Qingcheng had no reply. With a steady warmth in his voice, He Yu said, "Both you and your matchmaking date are here. Isn't it inconvenient for me to be around? I'll give you some room. I don't want to be in your way." Bai Jing immediately snatched the bait and yelled, "There's no chance we'll get together." He Yu laughed softly without looking at Bai Jing. Tilting his head, he added quietly at a volume only Xie Qingcheng could hear, "Dr. Xie, don't you think your charisma is fading with old age? You can't even get that little girl." Xie Qingcheng said nothing. Wicked thing. Could it be that his ancestral tomb had been renovated into an outhouse? How'd they produce such a depraved beast? Xie Qingcheng's expression was cold as his lips moved just enough to reply, "Hurry up and get lost." He Yu smiled. He stood up suddenly, and his arm shot over Xie Qingcheng's shoulder. Xie Qingcheng started, bewildered as to what this depraved gentleman, who was flouting normal etiquette, was doing. Even though they were several centimeters apart, he could pick up the scent of He Yu's adolescent hormones, as well as feel the heat emitting from the boy's chest as he loomed over him. It was a kind of weird word choice. Okay, sure. The domineering aura unique to young males made Xie Qingcheng, a fellow man, extremely uneasy. As a rather traditional man, he immediately felt a sense of irritation at his male territory being invaded. Yeah, it's a little bit creepy. I don't really know, since this is a translation, I don't really know what word they're working with that they translated that from. Because I'm like, technically still a teenager, but adolescent is not the word I would use. Where? Xie Qingcheng was just about to shove He Yu away when this invasive and imposing schoolboy straightened back up. In his hand was a large bag of coffee he had picked up from the counter behind him. The drinks He Yu had just ordered. "Guh, I was just getting the drinks," he said. He Yu's derisive smile widened at the sight of the man's dark expression. He took out the cups of coffee from the paper bag and passed them to the employee from Homeless Services, the doctors, and the nurses. He also asked someone to bring one to Xie Xue and even handed a cup to Bai Jing. "Oh, Blue, it could be intentional. I can definitely see Xie Qingcheng telling himself that." Yeah, to be like, "Oh, this annoying kid, like this brat," like kind of using younger words to like mock him in his head. Yeah, that I'm gonna think of it that way. He also asked someone to bring one to Xie Xue and even handed a cup to Bai Jing. But then he clicked his tongue and looked at Xie Qingcheng. "Would you look at that? I'm so sorry, I forgot to get one for you." After a brief pause, He Yu held out his cup of iced coffee to Xie Qingcheng. "Why don't you drink mine?" But this clearly wasn't a sincere offer. He had already inserted the straw into the cup and was holding it right up to Xie Qingcheng's lips, as if it were the most natural thing to do. He was certain Xie Qingcheng would refuse. But to his surprise, it sparked Xie Qingcheng's temper instead. Xie Qingcheng subverted all of He Yu's expectations as he sat right there on the sofa with the air of a man getting waited upon by a little brat. With a sly lift of his gaze, he stared into He Yu's eyes, parted his pale lips, and slowly closed them around the straw that had been shoved in front of his face. Without breaking eye contact... Hold on. The word choice. Without breaking eye contact, he sucked deeply on the straw without a hint of courtesy. Xie Qingcheng's throat bobbed as he swallowed the drink. It was as though he were egging He Yu into a fight. Then he let go of the straw, his wet lips glossy, his eyes sharp. You can put it over there. I'll take it as a gesture of filial piety. He Yu was speechless. When he saw Xie Qingcheng dip his head and close his lips around the straw, he felt a maddening heat in his chest. Probably from sheer anger. Probably. That's doing a lot of heavy lifting. He thought that this person really deserved to be tormented thoroughly, more than words could describe. He had wanted to see Xie Qingcheng stuck in an awkward dilemma, or snap back in embarrassed rage. But in the face of He Yu's challenge, Xie Qingcheng had answered him with an air of composure, radiating arrogance. For a second, He Yu had the urge to toss the coffee all over that fatherly ice cube of a face, to see how miserable he would look with his face dripping wet and his clothes soaked through. We've already done that once with a bucket. You've already seen that. But in the end, he only smiled and set the iced coffee lightly down onto the tea table. Ducking his head for a moment, he spoke quietly to Xie Qingcheng. All right. Since you wanted it, be sure not to waste a drop. Drink it all, drain the cup, and let me know if it's not enough. I'll get you another. How could I possibly impose? You've acted as my driver and handed over your checkbook tonight. And now you're even offering to become my delivery boy. Xie Qingcheng laughed coldly and picked up the coffee, his long, slender fingers sliding through the droplets of condensation collecting on the cup. You're dismissed. Santa's out. It's time for fatherly ice cube. Xie Qingcheng. After Xie Qingcheng finished speaking, he swirled the cup at He Yu. He Yu walked away, a dark expression on his face. After witnessing this verbal pissing contest, it was clear to everyone present that the two of them weren't exactly on the best terms. It was somewhat awkward, but Xie Qingcheng acted as if everything were fine. He got up, and under the circle of watchful eyes, tossed the coffee into the trash. Only schoolboys ordered coffee so late. How was he to get any sleep that night if he messed around like this at his age? Xie Qingcheng sat back down, his expression calm as he looked toward the homeless services staff. Sorry about making such a scene. My client's son doesn't know any better. It's fine, the worker laughed awkwardly. So where were we? Oh, that's right. So you're certain that Zhuang Zhiqiang doesn't have a daughter? The employee snapped out of it. That's right. He doesn't. Mr. Zhuang Zhiqiang doesn't have any relatives at all. We help homeless individuals get in touch with their family or other community members. But there was no one we could contact for this old man. Xie Qingcheng fell silent. From his experience, he felt that Zhuang Zhiqiang's reaction didn't seem like a meaningless or random dissociative episode. The matter of his daughter had to be a weight on his mind. Right. Blue, you're 32. What age? I guess some people do talk about their 30s, like, oh, in your 30s, like, you start going to bed earlier, like, oh, in your 30s, like, you can't have a bunch of caffeine, like, late at night or whatever, but I don't know. I feel like it's still, to me, I have no idea where this is going, but to me, it's still possible that this man has a daughter that's, like, estranged and isn't, like, if officially on the record books as his daughter, because I could see that happening. You know, so I don't think that rules out possibly actually having a daughter, but it could be something else too. Daughter. The old man lay on the hospital bed with an oxygen cannula, still muddled and rambling under his breath about the person who might have been a figment of his imagination. My wonderful daughter. Your old man watched you grow up right before his eyes, watched you go to school with your little backpack on your shoulders, watched you pass the college entrance exam and move to the big city. He stopped for a moment, a cloudy tear seeping out from the wrinkled folds of his eyelids. The old man's sleep-talking was tainted in pain and choked with sobs. Why couldn't you ever come back to see your old man? Xie Xue was soft-hearted, and her tears flowed freely as she listened at his side. After getting the nurse's permission, she reached out for Zhuang Zhiqiang's hand and said from his bedside, Uncle, don't cry anymore. I'm here. I'll stay with you. Please get better soon. As he was still ill, she couldn't spend too much time with the patient. After she comforted the old, confused man for a while, the doctor told her it was about time to leave. After disinfecting herself, Xie Xue walked out of the emergency room. She reached into her bag for tissues to wipe her tears, only to discover that they'd already been used up. A pretty hand passed her a man's handkerchief. Xie Xue looked up. Her slightly swollen and red eyes were met with the sight of He Yu's gently smiling face. With Xie Qingcheng, He Yu had behaved like a degenerate beast, but with Xie Xue, he was rather like a well-behaved show dog. The handkerchief he passed over was a square of snowy white silk, of a very delicate and exquisite make, without a single crease marring its surface. Here you go. Thank you. It's nothing. He'd already known that Xie Xue would react like this. Xie Xue's parents died soon after she was born, and her grandparents had already passed away long before that. Ever since she was little, she'd been very envious of others who could shout, Daddy, Mommy, Grandpa, or Grandma. In her case, it was only during the annual Qingming festival that she could quietly say those words as she stood beneath Xie Qingcheng's black umbrella with a bouquet of dainty white chrysanthemums in her hands, facing those ice-cold, rain-soaked gravestones. And the Qingming festival is a holiday for honoring departed ancestors. Thus, the one thing she couldn't bear was seeing people of her parents' or grandparents' age without children to keep them company. Doctor? Wiping her tears, she spoke to the emergency physician again. Can you please let me know when he's moved to the psychiatric hospital? I'll go with him. He Yu frowned slightly. What would you go to that kind of place for? It's no trouble. It just so happens that the university wants me to go to several prisons and psychiatric hospitals to discuss whether we can bring students to visit. They said it's to give the screenwriting and directing students some hands-on experience in civic engagement, but I haven't had the chance to discuss it with them yet. Xie Xue blew her nose. It's not like I'll be going out of my way. Since she'd put it that way, He Yu couldn't really say anything else. He could only walk over to the side and pick up that little yellow stray. He Yu put his hands under its chubby front legs and lifted it up to his face. I'm like, is he gonna adopt this dog? You know, Blue, I'm thinking, like, on my thoughts are, like, that could be a good experience for a writer, and I'm also, like, full of ethical concerns for that at the same time. Its yellow and white striped legs kicked a few times in midair, and its black bean nose met his almond eyes as it fell into somewhat of a daze. Yu said gently, I'll get a dog permit so that you can stay at my place for the time being. Once your owner's better, I'll send you back to him. Trembling and shivering, the little dog let out a whimper. It is said that animals have a sixth sense, allowing them to detect danger and madness hidden behind a person's smile. So, despite the kindness of Yu's words, the little dog was frightened, but attempted to get on Yu's good side anyway. It nervously stuck out the tip of its soft tongue and gave Yu a lick. Yu laughed and reached out to stroke the dog's head, letting the dog lick the tips of his fingers. Eyes dark, he said, Good boy. You are much more sensible than him. Well, that's the end of the chapter. It's literally 4:59. Perfect timing. That's where we stop for today. Unfortunately, next week... Wait, yeah, today's Monday. Oh, wait, no. Yeah, unfortunately, we have to wait until next Monday again for our next stream. But once next week comes around, we will be on a regular schedule again for Monday and Wednesday streams, which I'm thankful for because, I don't like waiting that long. I don't know, I don't know, something like this, I don't know how people do once a week streams. It's like, thankfully, this book has been very memorable so far. So, like, I didn't really lose track of anything that happened last stream because it just was so, like, I don't know, I can read something and be very interested in it and still forget certain things because my memory is just like that, but so far everything in this book has been like, I'm gonna remember that. Like, it just kind of sticks out in my mind. Oh, and thank you, Nina. Happy New Year to you, too. Chill but weirdly relentless. Blue, yeah, the way that this book has been so far, that kind of makes sense. Yeah. I think I would put it like that. So when we come back on next Monday, and it will be the new year, it will be 2026, which is, the endless push of time. I don't like that. I don't like that it's going to be 2026 already, but we're almost there. We will be on chapter 9, which is called, But Never Mind Him, I Decided to Tell Her My Feelings. So we're looking forward to that next time. Telling Shieshue the feelings. Well, alright. Well, it was good to see y'all in the chat. And, I'll be around on Discord. So I will see you all for more Meat Bun next week. Bye, and Happy New Year.